welcome to this edition of Indian Cine-MANIACS. What's going on, Maniacs?
Hey,
Good to be back.
Good to be back. Good to be here.
Everybody have a good week. Didn't make it last week because I had an eye surgery. Debbie, can you close your eyes a second?
Don't do that.
I
You
can't.
saw the red area.
That's horrible.
Oh my God.
I can't even see it.
Why would you do that?
We thought
It's
Debbie
okay,
might have-
Debbie. The resolution didn't come through,
Yeah,
so
we couldn't see
it's
it.
fine.
And Debbie was nursing me last week.
Oh.
You know, which is something my mother did. She just wanted us to be
Well,
friends.
I'm curious because when Debbie's not on the show, you come on solo. You couldn't be on the show, and Debbie didn't come on solo. I was kind of curious about that.
Well, she wanted to nurse me, but I'd have been happy if she'd come on.
All right, here we go. Okay, enough, Debbie, right? Enough. All right, so we're going to do Omkara. But before we do that,
Omkara.
John, what's it? Omkara.
I said Omkara, yeah.
Omkara. Omkara?
Omkara.
I thought it was Omkara.
But
Umi.
before we do that, John has a very complicated talk about the wheel versus pole.
No, see what you just did.
Take it away.
Oh, Ralph. So Ralph.
Hey, on Drew's show, he can do whatever he wants. This is my show.
So I put out a poll for do we want to do a wheel or do we want to do a viewer poll? And the viewer poll is winning by handily, actually.
I'm very upset.
Ralph
about
is very upset about that, and he keeps making it known how upset he is about it. So here's what we are suggesting, and I hope this isn't overly complicated. So the first thing we're going to do is each of us are going to bring a movie. We're going to put it on a poll and let you vote the order in which we watch the 5 movies that we pick, okay? So it's not going to necessarily be a wheel. It'll be a poll in that order. But
And
we're
to be
gonna
clear, just to be clear, it's 5 squares, so people don't
5
think
squares.
we're Jip and Debbie or Sean. It's 5
Right,
squares.
Right. I said 5 films, but 5 squares is
If
fine.
there's 6 of us, people
That's
might get
right.
confused.
So that's the first thing. Then we're going to alternate with a wheel that is going to be consisted of movies that you, the viewers, pick. And here's how we're going to choose whose movies we're going to pick. We're going to ask you to comment on the show like you always do. We're going to ask you to recommend a movie. Now, what normally
just one.
You can only pick one. And as much as you can possibly check, is it available for us to stream? Because if you pick a movie we can't watch, it's eliminated right away. Okay, so you normally do that. But here's what we're going to ask you. If you want your pick to make the 5 film wheel, you have to make your case for why we should pick your movie. You have to impassioned plea about why you should watch it. Then based
And we can
on those
include that in
comments,
the show.
we will put your impassioned plea, and we will put those 5 films on the wheel. So we will alternate from the poll and the order that you pick to
be
the
clear,
wheel of movies you pick.
And to be clear, you're going to pick the 5.
Well, we can collectively do it, but it's probably easier if one person did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be clear about
I just think it would be easier. So
that way
that's
we can
fine.
complain
And then,
later.
Then we could do another one where Sean gets to pick the 5, or Ralph gets to pick the 5, or anybody can. But for this
Or
one,
Debbie.
or Debbie,
Of course.
But this way, because I'm trying.
Chris.
This is my idea because
Not
Ralph.
Chris, he's the grumpy bear.
Ralph has been very upset about the wheel. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate his wheel and the viewers. We're trying to get more viewer engagement.
And you don't think putting the 5 that we pick. Well, it's 5 that we pick. You're right. So it's ultimately about the viewers picking.
That's
so the
right.
viewers get to pick the order. That
That's
puts it in
right.
their hands.
They pick the order,
Even though it's our picks.
And the wheel, random wheel with the 5 that we pick from the audience.
Okay.
And I'll add, I am confident that of the 5 that we bring to the wheel, there's probably some overlap with what some people have really wanted us to watch. I'm not trying to find stuff and say, did no one recommend this? I want it, because people are recommending so many things that I actually want to watch. So this is a way to sort of weave that together. So I think that'll
And
be
also, I got to admit, since we've been watching these films, anytime I go on Prime or Netflix, all of it's after suggestions. Right.
Well, I'm watching stuff we're not even talking about. So I'm watching Indian films on my own.
I'm watching TV series, The Family Man, an Indian TV series.
Okay, but to clarify this, we're going to alternate the weeks.
Yes. So 1 week will be our picks, voted in order by the audience. The second will be a random wheel of films picked by the audience.
Okay. And how long do they have?
That's a 10-week process.
Right now, we got next week we're doing Runway 34. Right. So that gives us a week for both of these.
Well, we have to know by. Well, we have to know by that day what the random choice the five
in order.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll have that. So we won't have to know the second one till the end of the following week.
Okay.
So I can do the poll anytime before then.
And to be clear, there will be no wheel at the end of this show because we're just going to do Runway 34.
Right.
That's right. No wheel, but
same actor.
The movies are going to be picked from this show. So your comments from this show with your movie choice and your impassioned plea from this show, not next week's show.
This episode.
Yeah, this episode.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So that's.
And I know you know how to handle a poll.
Yes.
You've done them before.
Yes.
Sean, bring in the class.
Yes.
Wow.
All right.
So I guess that wasn't that confusing, but I'm still reeling.
I didn't mean it.
You're still reeling from what?
Well, it came out like that.
That's you.
Yeah.
So
we know you, Sean.
Did I have a leer in my voice?
All right.
Your
So
whole face.
now, since we've done that, let's ask people to subscribe and to hit the like button.
Smash the like button.
Hopefully they stayed through that.
Like button, Komaro.
We'll put that in the table of contents so everybody knows we had a little special announcement at the beginning, and then we'll move on. All right, so this week's film is Omkara. Omkara, in 2006. I am not even going to try to read the actors. I know that's terrible. Director, I'll try. Vishal Bhardwaj. And it stars one of my favorite guys, Ajay Devgn.
He's great.
Kareena Kapoor. I think she's in
Kareena
Three
Kapoor.
Idiots. Is she the one from Three Idiots?
That's the one I love. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And
she's in
Talash and
and
everything.
Saif Al Khan.
Saif Ali Khan.
Thank
Yes,
you, Drew.
he's a legend.
And who is he in
right?
Who is he in the film?
He's Langda, who is the equivalent
lieutenant.
of Iago.
So I'm going to just read the description because it's basically Othello. But a politically minded enforcer's misguided trust in his lieutenant leads him to suspect his wife of infidelity in this adaptation of Shakespeare's Othello. Now, I had never seen Othello, never read Othello, never saw the play Othello. Yes. So this movie's ending was shocking to me. And
That's cool.
That
and
is
it
cool.
took the only issue I had is it just took as always, it just took forever to get there. It's 2 hours and 55 minutes, I think. I mean, it's a long one.
The play is probably that long too. Or
I was going to say, it's pretty faithful to the structure of the play. Shakespeare's plays are 5 acts, and this isn't exactly that structure. But if this was the time to watch the play, that would sound about right.
Yeah, but it follows that storyline to the T, doesn't it? I mean, it's there.
Relationships are slightly different. Like the one woman, Langda's wife is his sister, is Omkara's sister, and she was a maidservant in Othello. So there's minor changes, but it's pretty dead on. And Othello is considered by a lot of actors to be the best role and the most difficult role to play in the English language. It's a masterful role, and it's really challenging for actors, as you can see by just watching this movie. And I think Aja did. We saw him in Trisham, and he was absolutely fantastic in this film.
Yeah, I have
He
no
has
context.
Such
I have no
charisma.
except the film. And I like him as an actor. I mean, that's why I watched Runway 34, which he directed. Drisham, you mentioned, he's in RRR. There was a trailer that we did that we couldn't put up because it got copyright, and it looked like a zombie film that he was in, or some apocalyptic thing that looked fantastic. So he's powerful, and this is early too. This is 2006, so I mean, he's been at it for a while, I guess. I enjoyed the film. Like I said, it took a while getting there. I was very, very, very confused at the beginning with all the political stuff that was going on. I didn't understand. They're calling them generals. I mean, were they actually army or
No, they were
soldiers?
They're
criminals and
It was
politicians.
criminal underworld or something.
I want to say 2 things about that. First of all, it is very confusing.
Okay.
And that's a deliberate choice to throw us into this world. It's very disorienting, which I think is also an interesting choice because most people will bring some kind of reference of Othello to this. And if you are expecting it to be a certain way out of the gate, but it'll be different. It's really painting this world in a different way. And the elements of Othello are, of course, there the whole time, but I almost feel like they're the most rearranged at the beginning. And what you have is Othello, instead of being a general and instead of these characters being soldiers under him, they're all gangsters.
Okay.
So that the politician, the older guy who they go visit in prison, played by Nazaruddin Shah, he is running for a legitimate political office, but it's basically a corrupt system where a criminal is elected and then other criminals work for him, and that's what starts off. That's part of what starts off Langda's jealousy, is that they pick Kisu, who is Cassio from the movie, from the play. They pick him as a leadership position because he's politically useful to get university students. It's not personal at all.
The handsome one.
But Langda takes that very personally. He was expecting that. And so right out of the gate, it's all there. But also, I mean, to me, this is a compliment because I loved that movie. It's obviously by the same people who did Haider. It is very interesting and faithful to the way that Shakespeare told this story, and also very much its own thing. And even like the end of Haider, spoilers, with a suicide vest and everything, that is exactly what the play Hamlet is about, but it does it in its own way. And I think the fact that it was so confusing, because I was really like, I don't understand exactly what I'm supposed to be following here. It made more sense as it went along, and I learned the characters, and I really dug that they kind of just dropped us in it. I like
drop us in it. Explain to me the front. So the two guys, the guy with the boots, who is his lieutenant, right, with the bad teeth, that guy, who caused this whole trouble. Yeah. The guy with the rifle at the beginning.
Langda. That's Langda.
Okay, so
Iago
is who's getting married at that first wedding?
Raju is the guy who's supposed to marry Dolly, and
the long hair with the mustache. The guy with the mustache.
He's the one that Langda kind of toys with him and humiliates him throughout the whole story. Right. But that's the wedding that he's breaking up, and then you discover that Dolly is supposed to marry this person she doesn't want to marry, and she has run off. Of course, the way that Dolly's father thinks, well, she must have been kidnapped by this gangster, and they keep calling him half caste because if you're mixed race, that puts you beneath other people. And it's not exactly, I like this too, it's not exactly clear when this is happening. I'm not really sure if it's supposed to be present day 2006 or maybe it's a little bit earlier.
I read
there is a timelessness to it.
The IMDb had it, I think, way earlier than that, actually.
Oh, okay. I mean, any movie that doesn't have cell phones, I'm like, well, obviously it's set in the Puritan times.
Well, it had cell phones. It had cell phones.
Yeah, it had some technology.
Flip phones.
That's what it was. It was flip phones. Yeah. So Langda is, I mean, to me, especially in this version of Othello, Langda is the main character because he drives everything.
Yeah.
And there's so much that they throw at you in the beginning. It's like, to me, it's like it's okay that it's confusing, and there's a little part of you that's like, I think I need to stick with this. It's not bad. I'm just literally very confused.
I mean, that's true. It's like, okay, apart. I know I'm going to figure this out at some point. Right. I'll just stay with it. And the actors are compelling enough. Dolly's gorgeous, and she's just very sympathetic. Unfortunately for her,
it rewards your patience.
And of course, the main guy is just fantastic. And but they're all bad guys. I mean, they're all bad guys. They're all like shooting people and killing people. And
well, that to me, that's one of the biggest changes from Othello, is that Othello is a noble, good person
and heroic.
Iago corrupts, and tarnishes with his jealousy and his evil. Because it's funny, because Othello is like, well, Iago makes him jealous of what might be happening with Desdemona, which leads to this terrible ending, which is of course the same as the play. But in this, it's much more explicit. Langda's jealousy, this Iago's jealousy of his jealousy is driving it. I mean, the guy wears green the whole movie, for Christ's sake. Yeah. Like, it's not subtle, but it makes, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you know this, John. I'm just going to say it. If you didn't know this, I'm glad you're sitting down. Langda was originally supposed to be Amir Khan.
I did know that.
Really?
And apparently Amir Khan, was like, I'm on board. I want to do this. But I think, as we can see from the stuff he does, it's like Tom Cruise. Like, if you're going to do a movie with this person, they're also going to produce it. And I think in an amicable way, that didn't work out. And I'm glad of that, not because I have a specific opinion of how Amir Khan would have been in this, because I think he would have been good in this. But this Saif Ali Khan performance, this makes me want to go find him in other movies. I mean,
I think it was only the second time he played a bad guy.
Oh, wow.
I read. He's normally heroic.
Well, he sold me on that one.
Wow, he was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought his was the best performance in the whole movie.
I'm down with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. I mean, it's funny because Sean, you had mentioned, a lot of people consider Othello to be one of the great roles, and it's funny, and I'm not super familiar with Othello the play. I've seen a couple of the movie versions, and I always thought Iago was the better role. Like it's kind of the more, I mean, it's definitely the more scenery chewing. There's more lines, there's more, pathos, and he's raging more than Othello does. Othello's very controlled, and one of the things I did like, I agree with Ralph. I thought this movie really could have used some trimming, and maybe that's partially because I knew the story. I knew the big strokes of the story. I'm not an expert on this particular play, or really any of Shakespeare's plays, to be honest with you. But in this particular play, I knew the major strokes, so sometimes it felt like it was taking a long time to get there for me personally. But they were great. It was a terrific performances and all that stuff. But I have to say, like, it's funny, and maybe it's just me. I didn't think, and I will say this, when I rented this movie offline, it was only in standard definition, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Ooh.
I didn't feel like this film was as beautiful as a lot of other films are. Do you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, it's a dark story. It's all of that is really dark, so it's hard to say. Maybe that was what they were going for. But anyway, like I said, I thought it was a little bit slow. Could have been sped up a little bit, but great performances throughout, as far as that's concerned. Yeah.
Well, I think the reason Othello is considered the better role is because it takes, a lot of skill to be convincing as a guy who's noble and a guy who loves his wife, but a guy who will ultimately smother her and kill himself. So I think he's got such a bigger arc to go through.
Sure.
And I was actually reading how some of the great actors viewed the role, and it was fascinating, and I think Aja probably did as well as anybody.
Sure.
Because I thought he was tremendously charismatic, and Debbie was loving it too. She was thinking this was the best Indian film she'd seen.
Yeah, I think this is number one for me.
Wow.
Oh,
I think that you take something that was written. What year did Shakespeare?
Probably 1606.
1606. That's like so.
Long time ago.
This movie, yeah, a long time ago, but it's
They
still
didn't have cell
applicable,
phones.
and it really, this film really nailed it in a way that, because when you hear the story of Othello, okay, I wasn't a Shakespearean interested person in school. I just really was not. But now that I'm getting to this appreciation of this film, and I love this film, it just really made the timelessness of the term jealousy just full blown. I mean, that was really inspected, that theme of jealousy and what it can do, what poison Othello had to get. I mean, he was an okay guy. He loved his wife, and it was a sweet relationship until poison
Does the
got
same
into him.
thing happen in Othello where the father plants a seed?
Yes,
Okay.
right from the beginning.
Don't
Almost
trust.
word for word.
Oh,
Can't-
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because what is the line? It's basically any daughter that can dupe her father, you'll
be
never
owned by no man.
Yeah, you'll never control that person,
Yeah.
which is literally everybody who has a teenage daughter has been duped. Like that's a huge cultural difference in the movie, but it was taken as gospel in this. Like that is a specific idea that Langda is able to dig into and cause this to happen and move forward. And I don't think that her father said that to deliberately make trouble, as unhappy as he was. He was just saying like, well, everybody knows that this is how it is. And that includes, Ajay Devgn's character.
And in Othello, Shakespeare's Othello was the wife an innocent.
Yes.
Desdemona is one of the
Desdemona,
most pure characters,
That's
maybe in all of
amazing.
Shakespeare.
I like I said, I've never
Yeah.
seen or, I'm not a reader. I didn't, but this one.
Well, that's
and
that's
that
another
line,
angle.
that's the one that kept coming back. That's the one.
Yep.
That's the one that was in his head when he's smothering her out.
Right.
Which
Well,
is
I tell you,
just insane.
In Othello, Desdemona is literally alabaster, pure white. and Othello is a dark Moor, and they play with that in different ways a lot, especially with clothes in this one. But it's very like part of how pure Desdemona is that she is so white and so different from the man who loves her, and she's also very fragile. And I don't know how old Kareena Kapoor was when she did this, but I mean, she really feels like a kid. Like she's so fragile and so vulnerable, and there are other female characters around her that are not, and that makes it even more like, oh, she is really. And I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I didn't know how they were going to tell the story, but I knew it was going to happen.
See,
and it was dreadful. No, I think that's amazing.
I would
love
your situation to experience.
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, I was like, what is going on? Amazing. So now
Ralph,
I guess I'm going to have to watch Othello.
Ralph,
what's a good film version of Othello that you could recommend?
Laurence Olivier. He's wearing some blackface.
Orson Welles. He takes it from 5 acts to 3 acts, much tighter.
Orson Welles. I thought you were going to say Lawrence Welk, and I was like,
that's what I thought I heard. Lawrence
Welk.
Olivier.
And I haven't
considered maybe the best performance.
I haven't seen it in a while, but which is about 20 years old, with Josh Hartnett as the Iago character. It's basically Othello set in high school. As I remember it, that was pretty damn good too.
That's actually a pretty good one. The one you can skip, though, is the one starring Lawrence Fishburne and Kenneth Branagh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, is that no good?
Yeah, well, Branagh only acted in it. He didn't actually
direct it,
adapt it, or direct it like he did.
Henry V was great.
Oh, yeah.
And so is Much Ado About Nothing. But it's also one of those sad things. Lawrence Fishburne is a fantastic actor. I don't think he's really a Shakespearean actor. Like, if you really wanted to do it right, you would have gone and got Avery Brooks, who is a Shakespearean actor, who's done many.
Or Paul Robeson.
I'm sorry, who?
Paul Robeson.
Oh, I've never seen. Yeah. Avery Brooks was always the guy that they at the National Shakespeare Theater that they would always because I'm from DC or in the DC area. They'd always put that was always a big deal that he was coming to do Othello at the National Shakespeare. It was always kind of a big thing. But yeah, I would skip that one. It's not that good.
All right, John.
I just wanted to say about Othello is although I'm familiar with it and I've seen it, this is a Shakespeare thing I tend to keep away from, because to me it's perhaps the saddest and most tragic of the stories.
It's tragic.
Yeah.
I mean, what I saw was tragic.
A lot of Shakespeare is tragic.
I know, but
come on.
But this one, she's so innocent.
Yeah.
And he is he's so noble, but he's also so misled, and he makes such a huge mistake. Like in the political ones, they're all evil people. They're all plotting against each other, and they all, but this one, it's like, it's such a disruption of innocence, more so. And I think that's maybe why it's so popular.
Yeah. All right.
And I love the scene about the scene where he just freshly kills her. And then after he kills her, he realizes his mistake instantaneously.
Well, did he away, or after he found out the necklace?
Well, he didn't think it was a good thing either.
Well, I know, but
he got this look on his face.
He didn't know he'd been deceived until that moment. That's right.
Yeah.
That's why he then took his own life.
Right.
All right, John, your turn.
Well, so I thought I enjoyed Haider a lot more than this movie. I thought this movie was a slog for the first hour. I thought Othello, and the one that I've watched a couple of times, is the Orson Welles version, because I think Orson Welles does Shakespeare as good, if not better than most.
John, get closer to your mic, please.
And the arc of the lead I didn't find it was true to Othello, who is very heroic and a gladiator, so that when he breaks like he did, the contrast from early in the film to the end, or the play, is so stark. And I didn't get that from his role. He was kind of bad the whole time, because he's pulling guns on everybody throughout the movie. He was also kind of, and I love him as an actor, but I thought he was kind of one note. So for me, the craziness didn't really work. I thought the guy playing Iago was by far the best role in it. I thought he was wonderful, and you couldn't keep your eyes off him. And he was
who's Iago?
That's Langdon.
Langdon.
Okay.
Langdon.
He was
like the green marble.
He was just so vile.
Well, what about the guy playing the Playboy guy? The guy who they were blaming. He was
Casu.
accusing.
Yeah, but
Who was
I mean,
Cassio.
it was okay.
I
mean,
thought
it
he
was
was
kind of a thankless role, not like the meat of that other role.
No, it's not. But he
so
he
that
was very sympathetic. I felt.
So that first hour, I was like, wow, I just couldn't get into it. Now, Chris, I'll agree with you on the locations, except for one scene when he announced that the guy was going to be his lieutenant, and then Langda or whatever Langda is up on that cliff, and the camera's behind him looking down
amazing
the crowd.
shot, yeah.
That was incredible. I mean, that shot was amazing to me, and that was about the only shot where I was like, okay, there's something I haven't seen before.
Well,
I've been watching a lot of movies where all of a sudden, a lot of movies I'm seeing places I've never seen before. This didn't feel that way, so I agree with you in that regard.
I like the train. The train.
It didn't. It was okay. It didn't work for me like Haider did. Now, the last half hour, for me, bailed out what probably would have been a Zuby don't, because that was like that scene where he killed her, and then kills himself in that swing.
Oh,
going
that was
back
a
and
beautiful
forth
shot.
with him at the bottom there. I mean, that was like, that really captured me for that, like however long that was. And then when he goes down and goes into his house and the wife slashes his neck. I mean, it was so it bailed out for me where it's more of a Zuby meh. But I thought Haider was better. It was okay. It was too long. And like I said, the arc of Omkara didn't jive with me like real Othello. And that could have been a choice. I don't know. But if it was just kind of one note for me, and that's why it really didn't work like I thought Haider did. So
I think that's a really good point, because any adaptation is a risk. The way that they changed Othello from a noble general to a gangster, and you can have noble gangsters and you can have gangsters that are better than that gangster and that sort of stuff. That was, I think, the biggest single risk, and it was for you. It didn't work,
right?
And for me, it was the kind of thing I said, I don't know if this is going to work. And then they did the whole movie, and I said, well, it didn't not work for me. But it is not as much of a contrast, the corruption of this pure man, because it's no offense to gangsters out there, but he's not just like a guy who wants to do bad things. We see him, as you said, drawing guns and killing people and doing all these things, and I think that is a risk that obviously pays off for some of us and not for others. But I think
you think about a movie like Butch and Sundance. That's about outlaws. Butch and Sundance, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But you never see Butch literally murder people who didn't need to be murdered. Like there's a scene on that train where they go through that train. They could be shooting anybody. They're opening up in rooms, just firing and firing and firing. And that's when my sympathy went away for that guy. I didn't find him noble. I found him except I love the scene when they come out of the train and those two trains are there and the rain is happening and that one train's going by. I mean, that was staged. Like it's just cinematically gorgeous, right? And he's putting the gun in that guy's mouth. Yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. So except he goes, so I feel bad when he smothers his wife, but I shouldn't, because he's a dick. I mean, this guy's a bad guy.
Well, he's still been manipulated.
Massacre.
I know he's been manipulated, but
he's
still
already,
a victim of
he's
that.
Already changed. By the time the evil is all. I view him as he's a noble gangster. Like,
what's a noble gangster?
To me, he's like Vito Corleone.
Okay.
He's a gangster, but he's not as bad as the other people.
That's true.
He had his limits.
Right. No drugs.
He was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Look, the problem is that we're all kind of bumping into, which is a great observation. Othello, the character, is a paragon of good.
Right.
He is as good as you can get. Everything that he says is real and honest and true, and that is hard to be him in a world that is not perfect like that.
Right.
And he doesn't come off as arrogant or perfect. He's just a good guy. And as good as he is, Desdemona is pure.
Right.
And innocent.
Well, that must be so. That arc to go from his purity or his noble to the poison has
madness of the
poisoned him.
jealousy.
Right, the madness
that's what
has
it was,
turned him.
right.
It is.
So
I mean, there's a
that's
reason
slightly that's
one
missing
of
in
the
this
most,
one because
that's one of the most passionate Shakespeare stories. It's not a surprise if you pick, what are the three Shakespeare plays that people have heard of that don't know anything about Shakespeare. Othello's probably going to be on that list, and they might not know anything other than it's about jealousy and it ends horribly, and that's what this story does too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do want to make a defense of the beginning of the film because I really enjoyed the beginning. I love the guy who played the political boss. He's like always with his arm around him.
Yeah.
He's always, and he's so cool.
Was that the guy
He's
that was
such-
shaving at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's such an authority figure, and he reads people really well. And I thought it was a great performance. So, and it's sort of like, he's a guy that obviously, has a criminal background because he's all these guys' boss,
Well, they talk about being in prison too, right?
He starts off in
they learn
prison.
in prison, right?
A prison full of bookshelves and comfort, and it's like an
Where they're shaving
Escobar
them.
thing. Yeah, I mean, it's that was they do a lot without spelling out a lot of things in the beginning of the movie, which is why it feels like a lot to catch up on. But
no, but I see. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that dynamic, and in the defense of Omkara, he's not like grasping for the top. He's very loyal to his boss. You know what I mean?
True.
He, and that's, to me, that gives him that nobility, even though he's a gangster. He's out there doing it. And I do love it when they confronts the rivals and they're betting about whether, he's going to marry his wife. And then there's that shootout. And he goes to the one guy, he goes, next time you want to bet on horses, not tigers. I thought that was such a great
it's some badass lines, and he's a badass. That guy is like his voice.
He may be my favorite actor in India.
His voice. It's just wait till you see Runway 34, man. He's an alpha male.
He's the kind of guy I feel like if you're an Indian audience member, and then he's the one who shows up as Ram Charan's father in RRR,
you go crazy.
Like, of course it's that guy. Of course it is. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So. Anything else before we hang on? Zuby do or Zuby don't?
Should we take a poll because people are getting sick of that too?
No, we're keeping that. That one's
They are not getting sick of that.
That one's
I was.
I've already. It's programmed in my machine.
I hear you, Debbie.
What'd you say, Debbie?
Nothing.
Okay. Here's a question about Zuby do, Zuby don't. Are we doing these reviews are we selling this to an American audience, or are we just reviewing the film?
Hopefully both.
Because I'd have a different, like if I were rating this for an American audience, I would say don't go see it. But for an Indian audience, I would say yes, absolutely, because I think they would understand it.
I mean, I've never looked at it that way.
Because if you're like when you talk to your
watching it or an Indian watching it,
when you talk to your friends though, when you're recommending films. What are you recommending? Are you recommending the comedies or everything?
No.
Are you saying watch everything?
I try to recommend one that I know that they're going to have a reaction to it. Like RRR, as much as I loved it, isn't for everybody. Like if you've never seen an Indian film, you might not get into that movie. As much as we loved it. But like Stars on Earth,
I disagree with that one. But go ahead.
Well, I know you
to
do.
me, that's the
I've
gateway
recommended
drug right
some
there.
people,
That's the
and
gateway.
they haven't
That's
liked
the
it.
gateway.
They haven't been able to get past the first 20 minutes.
Well,
because
it's
so
that's
out
the thing
there.
you've got to tell them though, because when I first saw RRR,
I believe me,
it took me. I had to break through that thing.
I know. What I'm saying is, like Stars on Earth is a pretty universal film.
That's true. That's
that would touch everybody. Other than Chris, who's just he doesn't like films. But you know what I'm saying? That's a movie to me. As soon as I saw it, I said, you know what? Other people who've never watched an Indian film would watch this movie and I think would have the exact same reaction I had to it. And I can't say that about all of them. So, but I've never looked at a review that we've done and say, well, I'd say this for an American audience, but for an Indian audience, I'd say this. I've never done that. Maybe subconsciously, but I think a movie's a movie. You're either going to like it or you're not.
To me, the big three that I recommend RRR, but I have the same thing that, it's a little iffy because they hit that girl right at the beginning. So the two I really go with, they hit the woman with that stick. is
That's a log they
Hunden.
hit her with, not a stick.
A log.
But
Yeah,
Wasn't
and,
a stick.
and Hunden, the blind piano player,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
and Trisham, because I think
Yeah.
those would be the most.
What about the
accessible.
horror film? The one with the
Tumbad?
Doombad.
Toombad.
Yeah.
That's
Toombad.
good.
I like
That
I
that.
recommended Three Idiots to a lot of people, and they've loved it
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I think it's universal. Some of those are not universal. RRR, I'm telling you, it's so over the top that some people are just turned off by it. And now you would say to them, well, you got to keep watching it. Because I was sucked in right away because I was like, oh, okay, this is over. This is crazy. I like that. But I
love
could
the
see some
crazy.
people not liking that. Where some of the smaller pictures, a little more intimate, a little more emotional. I think that would translate better.
Lunchbox is one that I would highly
Oh,
recommend.
Yeah,
Lunchbox.
Lunchbox would be.
That's
Yeah,
a
I
to an
agree with
American
that.
audience.
I agree with that. That would be.
That's
good
a
for
real
American
art
audience.
house
Yeah, I agree
film
with
that
that.
would
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And Super Deluxe is another one.
Yeah,
I'm
see, I don't think Super
understand
Deluxe-
why-
That's much weirder to me.
Yeah, I don't
thought
think
it
that
was
would
great, but
work.
It's weird.
I don't think
so.
that, I wouldn't recommend that to people, American audiences.
I think it's fair, and I'm not saying that we need to do this because I know other people out on the internet have done this. You know, we introduced ourselves to this, and we made our way through these movies with some guidance that increased over time with the people who enjoy watching us talk about these movies. You could sit down and say, all right, what are the movies that people should start with? And I recommend RRR to everybody. But I tell people the first 3 scenes of the movie, if you watch that and you go, I don't like any of this, it might not be for you.
Right.
And that's 20 minutes. I mean, the title of the movie doesn't come up for more than 40 minutes. And but I would also say, don't be afraid of the length. You should watch Lagan. That's the longest movie we've watched, and that's an incredibly accessible movie. So I think, you know, you can recommend different things to different people, but at a certain point, I mean, I've recommended RRR to lots and lots of people who have actually watched it, and only 2 people, no, really only one, because one watched the Natu dance and on YouTube and was like, I don't get it. But one person said,
Wow.
you know, it's just silly. I don't care about this, which is fine. But I mean, there's a reason that movie broke out across India and the world, but it is a lot. And you know your friends and you know what movies they like. And if somebody's like, there are definitely people I would say, watch The Lunchbox before you watch RRR.
What
even
about
though they're both
Egon?
worth
Watch
your time.
Egon, the fly one.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I love
yeah.
that movie.
Yeah,
That's
you
what I
see,
would
that would be a
recommend.
horror movie fan movie because it's really not a horror
Watch
movie.
that
horror
one.
film
I
But
mean,
it is kind of a horror movie.
You
It
like
turns
crazy
into a fly.
stuff.
yeah. I was going to say something else and then I forgot.
What?
And we
Well, also,
forgot
can we
some
stop-
really
can we stop,
quality
Smash
movies
the
that
like
aren't
button?
enjoyable to watch.
That what you were
Like
gonna say?
Sartor Unum, maybe one of the best produced.
No, that's a good.
and
That's
tremendously acted, but it's like
It's
it's
tough.
dark and you know it's
Right,
not.
that's
Yeah.
not a
that's
joyful
one that you would have
experience.
to work up to. And
Yeah.
if you realize that you like these Indian films and all the different styles, then I would say, yeah, check that one out. But I would never start someone off with that.
Well,
Yeah.
can
Oh,
we-
I
can
know
we-
what I was going to ask. Wait, do you see how long it took for the credits in this one?
Oh my God, it was 40 minutes before. Debbie's
Directed by.
like,
It's like it took forever.
I
Debbie's
know.
like, I thought we were halfway through the movie.
Wow. Plus all
So-
the
so
stuff
can-
they did
can
at the
we-
beginning.
Can we lay off of Chris as the guy that doesn't like fun movies? Because
It's
at the
okay.
end,
Beat everything that-
seriously,
that's the shtick.
at the end of but this is important. At the end of Omkara, when that swing is swinging and he's choked her to death and then he shot himself, I pictured Chris standing up and like slow clapping, like this is fantastic. So you like what you like, and I don't want him to be ashamed of it.
You know,
Now,
you
Chris
mentioned
was
that
like,
swing.
What
I was
motorcycle was that he was driving?
I was getting
Yeah, it's
annoyed by the swing. Like they kept cutting, and that swing was always moving
Oh man,
until
It's
the
chilling.
end.
Yeah.
that was
And it was like,
whoa.
wow, that is brilliant. The
Yeah,
way
they
Chris,
that
what were you
some
going to
stuff
say? You're
up.
going to say something, Chris.
Oh, I was just gonna say no. I was eyeballing those motorcycles pretty hard to try to figure it out. I admit.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe that's another offshoot show.
we could do.
Motorcycle
Chris and
thing?
motorcycles.
Indian motorcycle review.
Yeah, we got some
Yeah.
ideas for other shows. We'll talk about that some other time. But
Yeah.
the rating of this, John, you said, man.
I give it a meh.
Yeah.
I preferred Haider. I really did.
Okay, Sean and Debbie.
We loved it.
We loved it.
It's probably close to being number one.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It was so
I mean,
dramatic.
crazy
it
good.
Was,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was dramatic. All right.
Drew, what's your rating?
Yeah, I mean it's great. It's a Zuby-Doo for sure, and it also makes me want to watch Maqpool. which is the same director's version of Macbeth. So like how John experienced Doom, we're working backwards through the trilogy. And I mean, I think Haider is a clear evolution of what he's doing with Omkara. And if Haider works better for people, I get that. But it makes me want to go back to Maqpool and say, all right, so let me see where this started. Because it's really just, I mean, you know, and I just personally love watching people put their own spin on a story that we already all know, and then it's not the story that we know.
I'm sure this
is a great example of that.
King Lear.
Well, I enjoyed it, and I had no Othello in my head, so that was great. Chris,
like Sean said, I'm a little jealous of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I saw someone watch Psycho for the first time a couple of years ago.
Wow.
And was shocked by the shower scene. They were like stunned.
Yeah,
and I'm like, man, I wish I could experience that again.
That's true.
I'd have to say Zuby Meh for me. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was just a little too long. Like, it really could have been tightened up a bit.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. That's what I said. So it's American audience, Zuby Meh. Indian audience, I'm like, yeah, Zuby do. That's why I'm hedging my bets on this one. But I did enjoy it. It just took forever to get to, like John said, the last half hour was like off the hook. Now, that guy shot his friend, right? The Lagan, what's his name with the green with envy.
He shot, well, they didn't show that, but he
shot the guy who was with all day.
Well, he shot Kesu and then Raju.
That's what.
Whenever he told him to finish him off, but then he shot himself instead.
Well, did he shoot himself or did?
I thought
Londa shot him.
Well, he didn't have a rifle. He gave him the rifle, so I'm wondering how he died.
So he took his own life.
He took his own life rather than
he may have. That's a good point. Maybe that's what happened.
Because rather than put a couple of bullets in the guy he thought he was already dead.
Because that guy lived. Casa lived.
Right, he lived.
You know, he's the one that. That scene where you're right. That scene where he puts the gun to his own. Oh my God.
Oh, we didn't even mention the dancer who was pretty.
Oh, what's her name? Bimbi. Bimbi.
She was
Bilbo.
Bilbo.
Sorry, that's somebody.
Big time actress
Bimbi,
too. The actress who played her.
I will say, to me, that was probably of all the Indian films I've seen, like when he kills his wife, and he's there and he's singing that lullaby to her, and saying how innocent she looks. That's about one of the, and then later when that swing, that's probably the most emotional.
Well, I'm going to say this for Drew. Him smothering her reminded me of the Young Woman movie that we saw where she gets smothered.
Oh, yeah. Promising Young Woman.
And, because that took
the camera doesn't cut.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You know what? It was just like
that's a good call.
Went on forever.
It went on.
And she kept moving and moving.
I know.
And
he's panning down to her feet, and oh my God, just.
And I love Kareena Kapoor, so that was even doubly tougher for me.
Brutal. All right, so I think. Good discussion about this one. All right, so next week we're going to do Runway 34. Woo! Wait till you see this one, guys. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying it's wonderful.
You're not saying it's great.
I think I saw it on Netflix. It's a version of Flight,
right? With Denzel
Washington's Flight. I'll just say
does he fly upside down, but then he strangles everybody on the plane?
Wait till he directed it, so he is the alpha male. That's all I'm going to say. So take a look.
He walks around the plane. Do you guys want a pillow?
I want to see the zombie movie.
That looks good. That one looked good. But
one other thing. I don't know if you guys caught it, but Langda, the position that he lost to Kesu in the beginning of the movie when he's on right before he walks out on that shot that you mentioned, John, he's supposed to be the Bahubali.
Yeah, I know that. We noticed that.
And so that makes me feel like the people who say we should officially go back and watch Bahubali 2, the conclusion, and talk about that. The universe just pointed at us a little bit, so I'm on board.
Well, we got a couple polls and wheels happening.
I didn't say tomorrow.
Gang of Wassaiper 2. We have a KGF.
All kinds of stuff going on. Hopefully,
it's Runway 34.
Yeah.
Will we be able to understand it if we haven't seen those before? Yeah, Runway 12 or Runway 14.
This is Runway
You'll
34.
all like Bahubali 2 better than 1.
And you're going to recognize a lot of people in this film.
Oh.
That's all.
Is Kareena Kapoor in it? Is Amir Khan in it?
No.
Oh, then I don't.
But a lot of people from Three Idiots is in there. There's some people in there. You'll see.
Modhaven?
I even recognize them. So
Modhaven?
that's telling you something. I don't know.
Virus?
Yes. That I know. So, all right. Everybody have a good week. Survive these polls, everybody.
Don't forget, comment section, name of the movie, why we should watch it. Don't just put the movie or you're eliminated.
How many sentences? Is there a minimum or maximum?
No, I don't care. Make your case.
And don't use AI to make your case.
And only one film.
Yeah, that's the most important.
Yes,
thing, one film. And I know that's hard because I only have to pick one film to contribute to this, and
he can never do that. When
I'm terrible at it.
Right.
If you guys watch the other shows, you'll see I'm terrible.
They don't, so you don't have to worry about it.
That's true. Although getting more views on the last one, so
that's true.
Not gonna.
I think
that's pretty good.
More. But anyway,
all right, everybody have a good week.
Yeah.
See you guys.
See ya.
Have fun.
Bye-bye.